Welcome to History in a Year, America's first 250 years.
Join us every single day as we journey from the Revolution of 1776 to the 250th anniversary of the United States.
You can find every episode and join the discussion at pointedwords.com. I'm Stephen.
And I'm Leah.
It is February 2nd. Welcome to episode 33. Yesterday, we introduced the feud of the century, Hamilton versus Jefferson.
We saw them tearing Washington's cabinet apart. Hamilton wanted the federal government to assume state debts. Jefferson thought that was a tyranny that punished the South.
By June 1790, the government was paralyzed. It was a true crisis. The northern states, led by Massachusetts, were threatening to leave the Union if the debt bill didn't pass. The southern states, led by Virginia, were threatening to leave if it did pass.
It looked like the United States might end before it really began.
Alexander Hamilton was frantic. He knew his plan was the only way to save the country's credit. Without it, the U.S. would be a banana republic with no money.
One day in June, Thomas Jefferson ran into Hamilton outside President Washington's office in New York City.
New York was the capital back then. They met on Maiden Lane. Jefferson later wrote that Hamilton looked somber, haggard, and dejected.
Hamilton practically begged Jefferson for help. He said, "We have to do something. The Union is in danger."
So Jefferson, ever the gracious host, made an offer. He said, "Why don't you come to my house for dinner tomorrow? I'll invite James Madison. We can sit down like gentlemen and work this out."
And that is how the most consequential dinner party in American history happened. June 20th, 1790. 57, Maiden Lane, New York City.
The guest list was small. Just 3 men. Thomas Jefferson, the host, Alexander Hamilton, the guest of honor, and James Madison.
We haven't talked much about Madison lately, but he was the leader of the House of Representatives. He was Jefferson's best friend and political partner. He was the one actually blocking Hamilton's bill in Congress.
Jefferson knew how to set a mood. He believed that good food and good wine lubricated the gears of politics. He served a magnificent meal, likely Virginia ham, beef, and ice cream. Jefferson loved ice cream. And he poured his best French wine.
The conversation started. Hamilton made his pitch. He argued that assumption wasn't just about money, it was about survival. If the federal government didn't take the debt, the states would fight each other forever.
Madison listened. He was a practical man. He knew Hamilton was right about the danger. But he couldn't just vote for it. His voters in Virginia hated the plan. He needed something in return.
And this is where the bargain happens. The quid pro quo.
The South wanted one thing more than anything else. They wanted the capital city.
At the time, the capital was in New York. There was talk of moving it to Philadelphia permanently. The Southerners hated this. They feared that if the capital stayed in the North, the government would be controlled by Northern bankers and merchants.
They wanted the capital on the Potomac River, right on the border of Virginia and Maryland.
Why there? Because it was near George Washington's home, Mount Vernon. But more importantly, it was in slave country. It ensured that the government would be surrounded by Southern culture and Southern interests.
So Hamilton looked at Madison and said, essentially, if I give you the capital, will you give me the bank?
It was a trade. Residency, the location of the capital, for assumption, the debt plan.
Madison agreed. He said he wouldn't vote for the debt bill. He couldn't be seen doing that. But he would tell his friends in the House to stop blocking it. He would let it pass.
In exchange, Hamilton agreed to use his influence to move the capital.
But there was a catch. Philadelphia demanded a consolation prize. So they agreed that the capital would move to Philadelphia for 10 years while the new city on the Potomac was being built.
Imagine the scene. These 3 men, candlelight flickering, deciding the fate of millions of dollars and the location of the seat of power, all over a glass of Madeira.
The deal held. A few weeks later, the Residence Act passed. The capital would move to a swampy patch of land on the Potomac that we now call Washington, D.C.
And shortly after that, the Funding Act passed. The federal government assumed the state debts.
Hamilton saved the economy. The United States credit rating soared. European bankers started lending us money again. Business boomed.
But Jefferson later regretted it. He felt like he had been tricked. He famously said later that holding the candle that night was the biggest mistake of his life.
He realized that by giving Hamilton the financial power, he had made the federal government stronger than he ever wanted it to be. He had traded a city for an empire.
And Hamilton? He didn't care where the capital was. He famously said, "They can put the capital in the woods for all I care, as long as I control the money."
He knew that real power wasn't in a building. It was in the ledger books.
This dinner saved the Union in 1790. But it also cemented the divide. It proved that the North and South were two different countries trying to live in the same house.
And Hamilton wasn't done. He had the debt. Now he wanted a bank, a national bank.
And this was going to be an even bigger fight, because nowhere in the Constitution did it say the government could open a bank.
Join us tomorrow for episode 34, The First Constitutional Crisis. Hamilton proposes the Bank of the United States. Jefferson screams that it is illegal, and George Washington has to decide. Do we follow the letter of the law or the spirit of the nation?
I'm Leah.
And I'm Stephen. You can find every episode at pointedwords.com, and this is our story.